The experience was life-changing. So Bold is an immersive 7-week class. There were 60 people in the room, 10 people per group, and one team captain of each group. And that first time I was reluctantly nominated to be the team captain, and I didn't know what to do. And honestly, I was scared. But it seemed important that I had to lead by example because the agents around me were scared too. They needed me to become a leader. And in exchange, they cheered me through my fears, and they provided a safe space for me to explore my vulnerability, which I believe has now become my greatest strength. With this new perspective, I was empowered to attempt things I'd been avoiding my whole career. Like magic, when I became the best version of myself that was required for that role, my own fears and my limiting beliefs, they just melted away. So for the first time, I was successfully door knocking, calling expireds. And within those 7 weeks, I had put 14 pieces of business into contract. And more importantly, the agents around me were trying new things too, which fulfilled me in a way that I've never felt before. I had learned the magical power of leadership and the difference between being a great agent and a great business owner. So my first lesson was, for next level success, it's not only what you do. To get extraordinary results, it's about who you become. So how can you put this into action? Well, first, I believe that it begins with having an open mind. Oh, and an honest self-assessment. That's not me, is it? And having an honest self-assessment of yourself, and with no judgment. Being open to accept that the version of you that you currently are likely doesn't have all the skills and knowledge that you need to create your best life. Otherwise, you'd have done it already. So if you want the best possible life, in my opinion, we need to gather our courage, and we need to commit to making time to studying ourselves, to practice dreaming of who we'd want to be and what our life would look like if we had a magic wand. And why not start with pure fantasy? We're discovering our life in an, oh my God, this is risky. This makes me nervous kind of a way. And then we have to commit to learning what's needed to bridging the gap from where you are to where you're going. Have you ever received a compliment that you loved, and then later you thought, wow, I wish that were true? Well, let's be real. It probably was, at least for a little bit. So what if it was that easy? What if we could just consciously practice becoming more and more like the you that you wanted to be, the one that that person saw in you? And you guys, this takes practice, and it was super challenging for me. But finally, I had to question my own beliefs and ask, if I were to become what they see in me, my best self, what would that look like? For me, it was easier to see this from an outside perspective. I'd ask myself questions like, what action would a great leader take? If I want this type of team member, life partner, or client in my life, who do I need to be? How would I need to behave? And which skills would I need to master to get the results that I desire in my life and in my business? I love asking great questions. And this practice is called a gap analysis. So to make it more fun, I like to call it my rainbow bridge. You can call it a rocket ship or think of it however you'd like. The goal is to discover where you're going to need to grow in order to boost yourself from where you are now to where you want to be. Next, we'll want to explore our answers. And then we want to start taking action, consistently taking small, brave steps every day in the right direction towards becoming the best you. And since the goal is always to live our best lives, why not commit to enjoying the journey, celebrating every obstacle, every lesson, and every blessing? And that's my lesson number 1. Endeavor to become the best version of you so that you can be appropriate in the moment. Does anyone have any ahas or want to share anything from that? Any questions? I think I forgot to say we're going to do a Q&A in between each of the lessons so people can share if you'd like. Yeah, thank you, John. I don't know if everyone heard that on the TV screen, but he was talking about how earlier I said how scared I was, and I'm doing it anyway, right? We have to have that fantasy life and kind of get bold. And I always think that my fear is really one of my biggest superpowers. I've been afraid of everything my whole life. But when you're afraid of everything, at some point, you have to do stuff all the time, and it almost does become a superpower because when you're scared of everything, it's almost like you're scared of nothing. So thank you for sharing that. Do we have any questions online or anything that anyone wants to share?
Rodolfo Padilla said that he was hesitant to attend just for facing these issues, but he's glad he joined us today.
Thank you, Rodolfo. It really means a lot that you're here. You are definitely in a room of people that we all have nerves, right? Doesn't everyone kind of have, we're all scared of something. So thank you for joining us, and we hope to provide a safe space. I'm glad you said something.
So honest self-assessment with no judgment is huge because we're our biggest critics. And so we sit there and we tell ourselves everything that we're doing wrong, and we mindset. So if we can just take that mindset out, be more positive about ourselves and what we can contribute to real estate. Oh no. Just honest self-assessment with no judgment is huge because we are our own worst critics. And so if we can just step out of that box and be more positive, I know sometimes it's hard, but that will make our real estate career a lot easier.
Yeah. And life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I got goosebumps, which I always think is a sign from the universe. So I think that's a really big, powerful share. Awesome. Okay, we're going to move to lesson number 2. Lesson number 2. So we must discover and sometimes rediscover and then commit to our vision or our big why. We need to ask ourselves, what would you slay dragons for? What's really worth your true commitment? And by the way, it's okay if we don't know today. But for now, maybe we want to be open to dreaming and finding out the answers, because this takes practice. And why is this important? Because on some days it's going to be hard. When you're committing to building a better life, when you're a business owner with hundreds of responsibilities and dozens of roles, there are going to be challenges and obstacles to overcome, probably lots of them. Recently, I heard a quote that says, if it's not hard at the start, then it's not real change. So why should we feel surprised? Let's go in eyes wide open. This is my favorite slide. Well, not the Slaying the Dragon. That's actually my new favorite slide. But uh-oh. We got a clicker problem, people. Jenny, I might need you to click forward, or it's going to all go. So our next slide is the emotional cycle of change. And I kind of have a little bit of the map drawn out here because I like to touch all the things and be a big part of it. And Jenny's going to see if she can get this on for, let me try one more time. I don't know. It's not my computer. I don't know who's hosting this.
Both computers are in Zoom right now, so
Only one should have the host of the slide. Just click the right button on each of them. She's right. That might work. Sorry, guys. Did we not mention that obstacles arise? I did say I was going to dance if something happened. So now I have. Okay, here we go. Saved you all. Okay, so this is what's called the emotional cycle of change. I didn't make this up. I actually got this from the 12-Week Year, which is a really amazing book. But this is really neat, and you can find this in all types of different things, and it's fascinating. Okay, so here we are at number 1. We are at uninformed optimism. I know how to spell, but I get nervous. Oh, that was right. Okay, so uninformed optimism. How many newish agents do we have in the room? This is where you guys are now. It's so cute. We've all been there. This is wonderful. You're like, okay, I am going to get into real, and all of you online too. Here we go. I'm going to get into real estate, and it is going to be amazing. I know so many people. I'm incredibly popular. I have a great profile on social media, and everyone I know lives in houses. This is going to be piece of cake, right? Yay. Sorry to say, you don't get to stay there long. About a week and a half to 2 weeks in, or pretty much once you've started doing lead gen, we move quickly into lesson number 2. And you'll notice up here, this is optimism. And here's, I'm sorry to say, is a little bit of pessimism. We're still at the top. We're just on the line into pessimism, and we're in informed pessimism. You're like, oh yeah, I got a little bit of that going on. So informed pessimism is when you've made some phone calls, and that friend of yours who calls you like a stalker, she's not calling you back now, right? She doesn't have any referrals. You just met someone at an open house, and I swear to God, I thought I was going to be in some woman's wedding once from an open house. We were hugging like we were best friends. Never heard from her again. I'm like, what? This is informed pessimism. This is not as easy. How about those of you that finally get a client, right? After months of chasing them down, you've written 27 offers, 0 acceptance, right? You're like, okay, thank you. So we've all been there. You're like, okay, thank you for letting us know how hard this is. Sorry to say, guys, we're just getting started. This is only the start. Now we're moving here. This is where it gets really bumpy, and I'm going to put some spikes because it's painful down here. And this is called the Valley of Despair. And maybe we have some people in here. I promise you, we have some people in this room that are in the Valley of Despair. Thank you. And for those of us that have been in the business a long time, we've been there and back. Like sometimes we've been there a couple times. So this is the Valley of Despair, is when your environment starts fighting back because you thought it was bad, like when your friend hurt your feelings. In the Valley of Despair, this is when your loved ones start fighting back. Your children are frustrated because you're not there to pick them up. You haven't washed your hair in 6 days. That's just me. You're picking up Taco Bell every night. You're feeling lousy. Your friends are telling you that you're not kind. Your partner's being frustrated with you. This is where it gets really tense. You guys, this is what they call the vicious cycle. You've heard of that, right? It happens in relationships and hobbies and diets and all those things. Oh my God, this is so exciting. This is harder than I thought. I don't think it's worth it. I think I'm just going to go back to where I was. This is where most people quit. This is where it gets to be a little bit too hard. And this is where I like to leverage my big why or my rainbow bridge, because we need something that is going to blast us way out of here to the next section, right? Because it's hard down here. So this is why we have to have all of that, because what we need is, like you said, it's the mindset and it's the knowing of what is needed to fill my gap and make a commitment so that I can have an informed awareness of what it's going to take. What am I going to need to learn? What am I going to need? What kind of skills do I need? And who do I need to become so I can get to that next level of success? Because once you get through the Valley of Despair, yay, now you're in informed optimism. And this is what I hope this class does for us a little bit today too, is you're like, I'm going to have to call a lot more people than I thought. And I'm going to have to call them over and over again. And they're not going to call me back sometimes. My feelings might get hurt and I'm just going to have to brush that off, right? It's okay. Sometimes actually when we do our lead generate calls, that's a goal, is call until someone's rude to you, because you kind of have to get that out, right? It's all about that perspective and realizing that I'm going to have to know my numbers and I'm going to have to do something a little bit differently. Maybe it's taking script practice. Maybe it's having a direct conversation with that buyer who's writing all of these terrible offers. Because if you don't do it quick, guess who's going to get the blame? The realtor. And they're going to move on to the next agent. And you've just primed that person up so that all they're going to say is, we need to do this. And they're going to go, okay. And they're going to get that first offer accepted, right? Anyone who's been in the business has seen that happen before. So number 5, here we have success and fulfillment. But for those of us that are with Keller Williams, if you've ever heard Gary Keller talk, is we never get there. Because you're going to want to start a new journey, because you're going to learn and change who you are during this, because it's really about that, the journey of who you become. Anyway, the point here is that if you want an extraordinary life, then you have to be prepared that it will take a little bit of extra. That makes sense, right? At least at the start. I'm obsessed with patterns. And for me, it always seems that statistically in our business, we hear no 97 to 99 times to get one yes. And that's before you even start working with the clients. So if we don't have the inner drive for a little extra push when it gets hard, well, you're likely to drop out. Or maybe you'll be lucky and get to the level of success that's on par with your current lifestyle, but that's not why we got into this, is it? So I personally believe that we need that extra special something to push us through to every next level of achievement, because we don't want to settle for just good enough, right? So how can we put this into action? Oh, it worked. Yay. Woohoo. Number 1, let's set our vision. And some people like to call it a big why. And by the way, you guys, I couldn't do this for the longest time on those ALC meetings. I just write some stuff that I thought I should be writing. When we're talking about doing this, don't do it based on someone else's dream or some shoulds. Write like from your own heart. Open your mind and be open to grow. Maybe you want to read books or subscribe to podcasts or take some classes. What we're looking for is for you to find your inner compass. And in my opinion, be open to journaling in any form. I consider that a board meeting with myself. Next, we're going to want to make a commitment. There are lots of tools like a 66-day challenge. Maybe you want to time blocks and practice because we want to get into mastery. To get our most beautiful life, we need to do whatever it takes. We need to be willing to burn the ships. I decided I wanted to move to France. So I actually switched all my phone settings to French. And you should have seen me in San Francisco, lost, learning, trying to get directions. I had 2 different apps on. It was ridiculous. The point is that if you want to make a commitment to something, you have to really, really, really be willing to do it. And that's my lesson number 2. Explore, discover, and commit to your dreams. Does anyone want to share anything on that one, either online or in person? Don't we love the emotional cycle of change? Wasn't that cool? Please. Oh, wait, hold on one second. I think we have to remember to get you the mic. Well, most of the people that are in this class are overseas. So we have people from all over the world. So no pressure. Just kidding.
I don't know if it's worth the mic because it's kind of short.
I
but
promise it will be.
the way you had it on the graph was as if you go down and then up. And I think for me, that's a vicious like circle, as you said. And the important part is just getting through that negative piece and kind of trucking on and not letting your thoughts and your emotions get you down to that point where you want to quit.
Yeah. And doesn't it feel good to know that science, people are mapping this out? I didn't make this. So it's not just us. Don't we always feel so alone all the time? Like, oh, everyone else is succeeding and here I am, just me again.
Hi, my name is Mamta Sayal, one of the newbies. I started my real estate career during COVID, and basically, I think for me, what it has been is obviously it hasn't gone as and because of all those other areas, you know, I kind of stopped myself and I thought, oh, I can wing it. I know I got this. And now I'm at a point of that number 3. And so I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? So for me, I've made a commitment. I'm like, okay, I cannot do this from home. So I ended up getting a place in our office, a cubicle I'm sharing with my friend. And I'm making a commitment that I have to give this all, you know, whatever I'm learning, I'm trying to implement that, what I didn't do before. And I'm hoping that, you know, I'll see some results.
You give me goosebumps. I think that's the only way, right? You have to go all in. And I think sometimes we always believe in everyone else. And unfortunately through life, sometimes it's hard to put ourselves on the line. And I've failed a lot. I mean, that's literally, right? But part of it, it's only looking back that you really know that it was really worth it. So thank you for sharing that. I think there are a lot of people that are going to resonate with that. Oh, so actually it's funny because I had that on there and I pulled it out. So I will share the funeral exercise. So when we talk about knowing your compass, and this was incredibly valuable for me. So the funeral exercise is, imagine that you are floating above and you just had an amazing life and you're at 100 years old. I'm an overachiever. So 115 is what I'm expecting. So I want to be 115 and I'm at my funeral and I'm like, all of these people are there and they're celebrating me, right? Because I want it to be a part. I'm from Louisiana, so we got to do a party. And so there's someone from your family. What do you want them to say about you? Someone from your community. What would you like for them to say that you did? Someone from your friend groups and someone from your business. So you want these 4 things, your family, your community, your business, and your friends.
Hey, if you missed
Right,
that
kind of
part,
like what you
just
want them to
send
say.
me up and
Powerful. The craziest thing is when I did this, what I realized is that I think I could try. Sorry. I think that what they would say about me when I wrote it was the same thing that I'd want. I just wanted it on a bigger scale. And so it's just a really neat thing. And then you can realize like what's truly important in my life. Because a lot of it is circumstances and some things we need. Money obviously is a big part of it, but beyond that. So thank you for asking that question. Please.
So Lori asked, what podcasts do you recommend?
Oh, that's so interesting because Jenny and I did practice yesterday and at the same point, she asked those questions. So we have a couple of resources on the back. I love Empire Builders. I think they do a great job. Ben Kinney, honestly, there are so many podcasts that are out there. I think that we should do, a little bit of research and we'll share that after. But I will say that Empire Builders is one of my favorites because there are 5 women that have built their businesses through some level of struggle and some level of honesty. And I think they do a really nice job sharing, not just about business, but how business should fold into your life. Because we hear all the time that your business is to fund your perfect life. And I've heard that bold law, I've taken bold over and over again, but it didn't really make sense. And I think they do a nice job of kind of blending that in together. So sorry that I don't listen to as many podcasts as I should. I'm a reader.
A couple other comments.
Oh, yes. Please.
Ash says, I'm so glad to hear you openly talk about the struggles. I am not the only one. 2 months in, still figuring out how to get business without losing all my friends, family, and my sanity. And then Peter Garland Collins says, I've always approached this with a long-term view, so short-term pain for long-term gain. Success takes time, devotion, and love of what you do. Otherwise, it will always be a struggle.
Thank you, Peter. Peter's taken this, he's taken classes with us before. He's from the UK and is building up a really big business by doing really interesting things that other agents weren't doing. So thank you for sharing that. And I mean, I think we're all seeing some commonality here, right? Like I'm not the only weirdo up here that's seen struggles and that keeps tripping. And I just keep getting up, and now I've learned just to laugh about it because it's kind of fun, but also look around the room and on Zoom, and maybe we can create some sort of a community, because the reality is there are people here that are on similar paths as you. We talk about that a little bit later in the class as well, is you want to have somebody that's in your tribe. So, and I think that brings us maybe to the next one. Oh my God, you guys are going to love this part. Okay, get ready, because I get to do an impression, and I'm a better dancer than an impression maker, but here we go. And this is from the Count of Monte Cristo, if you've ever seen it. And Jacopo has this scene. Oh, Kristen's walking into the right moment. This is impressive. I'm still your man, Zatara. I swore an oath, and I will protect you, even if it means I must protect you from yourself. Was that good or not? I know. That's right. Don't quit your day job, people. You probably are like, protect us from ourselves. Like, what do I even mean by that? Well, personally, I believe that it's our responsibility to master our own vision, values, and self-knowledge. As parents, leaders, and friends, we're often doing things for others. And mostly that's a good thing. But sometimes it's at the expense of getting out of alignment with ourselves. We need to, oh, sorry, I lost my place. And I'm not saying to be selfish, yet I am saying that to be your best self, you need to create a high level of respect and value for yourself. We need to honor who we are, to acknowledge the good, bad, and the ugly. It's your job to protect your ideas, your time, and especially your energy. And I believe this is easiest to accomplish when you're in a habit of earning your own trust and respect daily. For me, I had to add an affirmation to remind myself on my morning routine. And it goes like this. It's my personal responsibility to know what I need and want from myself and the people in my life and business. And I must model my own standards. And by the way, if you don't know yourself as well as you could as we sit here today, it's no big deal and no judgment. But I believe if you want a big life by design, then let's consider that maybe it's time as a responsible business person, as a partner, and as a human to find this out. And I can promise that that line made some people uncomfortable, maybe lots of people, and that's okay. I said that directly for a reason. One of my superpowers is my courage to ask people very provocative questions. So get out your pens, because here come a few of my favorite fierce conversation questions. Sorry, I'm just going to drink a little bit of water. So number one, what's your purpose? If you don't know your purpose, how can you possibly time block for what's important versus what's urgent? You've all heard the expression, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, right? And you guys, there are lots of activities in real estate, and only some of them are going to take you in the right direction. So let's think of this as our system for decision making. Number two, what's your unique value proposition? In this business, well, in any business, our value proposition is what we're selling. And in the United States, no one needs an agent to sell their house. In my opinion, being a realtor or having a realtor is a luxury, and we're compensated well. So if we don't know our value, how can we share that? How can you sell yourself with it? Does that one make sense for the realtors in the room? I could feel it. I have the energy. I love that. That means we're all thinking. And here's the last one. This is the big one. And this one was a no for me for a long time. Are you in integrity with yourself? Do you have a habit of breaking tiny promises to yourself by choosing other people's priorities first? Maybe to avoid drama or stress? By not practicing self-care and health maintenance? By not doing the lead generation and business actions that we've quote unquote committed to? Or just by cutting corners or not giving our best sometimes? Personally, I found that these habits will erode our sense of trust and cause us to doubt ourselves. And we see that showing up in our language to and about ourselves. I believe that in order to make the best decisions and to be appropriate in the moment, we need to know that we can count on ourselves. You guys, trust must be earned every day, over and over by action. And why is that important in a business class? Well, how can you sell yourself if you're not in the habit of doing what you say? That seed of doubt will color every conversation and every relationship. Either your self-trust or your self-doubt will be present and show itself, especially in times of stress, like on sales calls and presentations, whether you're aware of it or not. What if we told a client, hello, Mr. Seller, I am going to do 62 to 87% of the things I say I'll do. Well, of course, we'd never say that with our words. But what if that's the seed of doubt that we're projecting, right? I found that to grow a big business, to lead your team, your family, and your clients, you'll be best when you know you have what it takes, when you believe in yourself this way, when you're able to build up a pattern of trust and success that's hard to break and easy to convey. So how can we put this into action? Well, first, let's start exploring and getting to know who we really are with no judgment. You guys, there's such valuable data that's found in your natural patterns that can work to your advantage. Our team, we call it our driving values. So how do you get started exploring? Well, I'm sorry to say, once again, it's probably some form of journaling. It's so important to get the data out so that you can clearly see what's been happening so that you can pay attention to your own patterns. You want to know, like, what types of things are always interfering with me, especially when you truly intend to do the right thing. Maybe you're feeding a driving value. Next, we're going to learn how to use these patterns to our advantage. We want to exploit our natural tendencies and stop fighting them, right? We want to leverage our subconscious. In the book Atomic Habits, they call this habit stacking. For instance, if you're motivated by recognition and you're a people pleaser like me, yay, great. Let's create some outside accountability. Look for a coach or a peak performance partner, an accountability partner, someone that you'll be proud, that'll tell you, you could say what you've done and they'll give you the recognition you want, right? If you like competition, we got an athlete in the room, right? If you like winning and team play, then great. Find someone that you respect and make it a game. They don't even have to know. Honestly, I have people that I'm having competitions with. They have no idea what's going on. And it's not about the winning. It's about, I need something that's going to give me the fire in my belly every day. If you like helping others, making a difference, stewardship, that's a lot of us in this room, I know, then look for some leadership opportunities. Let's commit to helping someone else by teaching, maybe partnering with the new agent. We certainly have some great ones in the room, right? You're going to learn faster and we'll all be more bold when we're in service of others. It all starts with just knowing ourselves. Because once you know your vision, you know your values, and you know you can trust yourself, then you're all set to beginning to build your best life. So that's my lesson number 3. Let's build more trust with ourselves. Oh, awesome. Thank you.
This is from Kristen King.
Hi, Kristen.
I never knew what my strengths were as an agent. Excuse me. I never knew what my strengths were as an agent until I joined Keller Williams and learned about how my personality and traits play a huge role in defining my role in our industry. Knowing my high impact traits led me to my most fulfilling roles. When you do what you love and what you are, hold on. Yeah, help me. And what you are good at, it doesn't feel like work. This helps build confidence with yourself. And then she also mentions that the career visioning process is a game changer.
Thank you, Kristen. So true. We've always heard that, right? If you do what you love, everything's just easier. Like, oh, We hear that like until I think we get to be about 13. And then it's like, okay, drop those daydreams. Let's do something that's serious, right? But there's got to be a way for us to blend it. Thank you, Kristen. And career visioning is definitely a process that we're in process with, right? We've taken the classes, so thank you. Does anyone else have a share or an aha? Any questions? Anything else that's on there? No. Okay. So lesson number 4. Uh-oh. Which I wish that this would do. Submit. That's the lesson. Come on, you can do it. Can someone click the button to the right? Our lesson number 4 is to submit. We have to step away from our ego. You guys, I've always seen myself as a humble person, so I didn't know I had one. But we all have one. And it's trying to protect our image of ourselves, to defend the stories of who we believe we are. And I found that it's helpful to accept that the things that got us here are also the same things that are holding us back from our next level. Okay, so now what? Well, this is a business class. So once you trust yourself, now you can really begin to trust the models. There are so many paths to success and fulfillment that have been proven. It was always just our actions that weren't proven. Personally, I've chosen to build my business through Keller Williams, and we might have agents that are not in KW, and that's okay. But we literally have a book for unbelievable real estate success, and it's called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And Gary Keller is a brilliant man. He actually has a degree in real estate, and I don't know anyone else that has a degree in real estate. So like, that's amazing. But even he didn't write the book from his own ideas. He actually researched and studied scores of top agents. He looked at their systems, their patterns, their similarities, and then he documented the findings and simplified them into a step-by-step recipe to build a big business. So how can we put this into action? Well, this one's easy. First, read the darn MREA over and over again. And people always ask me, well, how many times? Well, I don't know, but I'm guessing as many times as it takes for you to master the implementation, or until you've reached the level of success that you desire. And next, we want to place ourselves in situations to be around other people that are at, above, and even below where we are. People that are on similar journeys. We want to find the people that have similar values to us, similar styles and beliefs, that are having successes, so that we can consciously learn from them. And in Keller Williams, we called this building your circle of 5. And we want to do this in every life category. It's not just about business, right? And obviously look around the room, because we have our peers, but also it doesn't have to be someone that's right next to you. You can find these people in books and podcasts and classes. Agents and leaders in Keller Williams, or honestly in any other business. And you guys, be prepared, because all of this is going to take time and energy and brain power. Remember, we're creating, and this is special. So we need to respect it, and we need to respect ourselves. You want to be sure that we set ourselves up for success by doing things like time blocking and building a bunker. We want to protect the time to work on our business, in addition to the time that we work in our business. And remember, it's a recipe. It's not a menu. Does everybody know what that means? We don't just get to pick the parts we want. You have to follow the actual steps. I know, trust me, I've tried the menu approach. Nope, that did not work out. Now, I'll bet some of you, especially you new guys, might be scared of this, right? Scary to work on your business. And the good news is an equal amount of you might be really excited, because you think that I've given you permission to avoid lead generation for a little bit longer. But don't get excited, people, because we still have one more lesson. But that's my lesson number 4. Submit and follow the recipe. Does anyone have questions on that one? Or does everyone understand what time blocking is and building a bunker? Louis, you probably don't know because you're not with us. You probably don't know because you're not an agent. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Can you share the circle of 5?
Yeah. So the circle of 5, and Gary Keller and a lot of people talk about this, is you're the sum of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. So whoever you're with, look around, because they represent what your life is going to look like. So awesome to have our high school friends and our people that are great. And if we want to get to that next level, we need to start being around the type of people that have the lifestyles that we want. And this can apply to your spiritual life and your health life. your business life, your financial life, right? All of those things, you want to be around those people because we influence one another. So that's nice. And then I'll share about the time blocking. So time blocking, it's not just putting something in your calendar. Apparently, I tried that for a long time. It's actually holding that space in your calendar and protecting that time in your calendar. It's blocking every other distraction out because you know that this is a priority. And it is different than just putting like lunch with my friend. That's calendaring. But this is a defensive mechanism. And then building a bunker is making sure that you're set up for that time. Do you have water and snacks for your call time? Did you put your phone on do not disturb? Because the same people are just going to keep bothering you until we teach them not to, right? It's going to be a little bit different. Okay, go ahead.
We have a couple of comments.
Oh, I love it. Thank you, everyone.
I love Daniel Boot. He mentioned that audiobooks are great for those who can't sit down and read a whole book like me. And I said, Patrice loves her audiobooks.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we also, Daniel also said, I'm terrible at time blocking. I feel like I'm constantly running around to serve everyone with no set schedule, which is true for all of us. And then Ev says, step 3, move from E to P by using the models and processes in the MREA.
So E to P is moving from entrepreneurial to purposeful. So again, it's that knowing what you have to do, not just running around going, I am so busy today. You're like, oh yeah, what'd you get done? Did I mention how busy I was? You're like, oh gosh, thank you. Those are both great. And by the way, Daniel, that'd be neat. This would be neat for a fun class or a fun little group, because Daniel has done so well and he's a newer agent who's been successful. So sorry, Daniel, if I'm calling you out a little bit, but if you ever felt inclined, the great way to learn or your greatest area of opportunity is time blocking. So to help and mentor other people, I bet that you would be really, really great and we could all learn. Go ahead, Lewis. We have somebody. Oh, May wants to come in. Hi, May.
Yeah. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Lewis Johnson. I'm a current entrepreneur right now. I have an organization named Unite. So I'll be looking to unite with a couple of you guys here. But I just want to ask, do you have any tools or resources for time blocking? I heard you just talking about a workshop, but do you have any tools or resources that you're using now, or any advice on how we could be better at time blocking?
We have our team leader here. So we have a lot of tools with Keller Williams. So a lot of it, again, is starting from the back. Is first of all, you have to know your purpose and know your goals and your dreams, and you have to work backwards. So we use a tool that's called a 411. And that's, you take your 1 year goals and you break that into a month, and then you break that into the weeks and then to each day. So you should know what you're doing each day. Number one is first, you have to know what you're time blocking for, because otherwise we all just sit there with a calendar and we can all just fill up that space. And then second, obviously you're putting that time in, and Kristen, who's here, would tell me all the time, especially as a new agent or someone who's not busy, is you set up your appointments before you even have them scheduled. So if you want to meet with people every week, it should have 3 appointments with clients, because that's what you're trying to fill. You need to know what you're going for each time. So things like that. Kristen, do you have some shares some great ideas?
Right. Time blocking is my favorite. I think it's magic. I really do. I feel like when you can create your calendar to match.
Oh, wait, sorry. Will you share on here so that?
Sorry. I just think time blocking is magic. It is the key, I believe. Early in my team leaderdom, when I was not succeeding, my coach would say, are you following your time blocked calendar? And the answer would always be no. So when I wasn't succeeding, it was because I wasn't following that time block calendar. Now, for any of you who come into my office, check out my calendar. It's pretty, it's got lots of colors, but it is directly a result of what I'm trying to do. So I should be able to look at your calendar and know what your goals are. And it should only be your 20%, right? We know the 80-20 rule. You're probably going to touch on that if you haven't already, the 80-20 rule. And that 20% is what's going to get you your results. And so make sure that's on your calendar. So your calendar shouldn't be filled with things like make a flyer. It should be filled with things like lead generate, have a listing appointment. And that should be blocked in there, even if you don't have it. And then your job is to fill that space, to fill that slot. And then you get to the end of the week and you go, okay, great. How did I do with my calendar? How did I do? Did I do what I said I was going to do? Or was I just making up stories and telling myself I would? And then you can look back at that and go, yeah, I filled those spaces. But what if you didn't? Well, the other thing you have to do is be loyal to it and you have to move it forward. You have to move it into the next week. So like Patrice said, your 411 is the first step because it has your goals. Then those goals go into your calendar. They all relate. I always say it's kind of like a multiplication and a division problem. You know how it works going down and it works back up again? It's the same sort of thing with your calendar. So make sure the most important things are in there and get done. And by the way, most of us have the most energy in the morning. So get those most important things done in the morning. And you'll literally, at the end of the day, feel like you actually moved the ball forward instead of feeling like you were busy and didn't.
I love that. And Evelyn, I think Evelyn, who's on, she's a team leader in Scotia in Scotland. And so I think it's you that always says, by looking at your calendar, I should be able to know what your goals are. Like, it's almost like proving it in court. It's exactly what you said. So you just want to make sure that everything matches. We keep overcomplicating everything. We need to start oversimplifying everything. And I don't talk about the 80-20 rule in here specifically, but the 80-20 rule is the Pareto principle. And it says that 80% of your results come from 20% of your actions. So it's just being really purposeful that you're doing the right actions and that you're spending the most time doing the things that actually make money. And by the way, guys, and I think we talk about this in a minute, we're about to talk about it, but the answer is always lead generation. Everyone can do all the rest of the stuff. The hard part is where you actually make the money. It's those calls. It's hearing no. That's where the dollar signs come from. Liz?
One of the things that also Patrice taught me with time blocking, because I get stressed out and want everything to be in this organized little set, and that's not the way this business is spending 30 minutes every morning going over what I'm doing for the day. And at the end of the day, spending 30 minutes going through what did I do? What do I need to kind of think about for tomorrow? And it has changed my days and that's an hour a day. It's nothing.
That's so true.
And then Evelyn shared, and it really works for me. I don't know, a lot of you are probably working from home, and that whole bunker idea. If I'm sitting in a certain chair at my desk, which is in my kitchen, my daughter knows I'm working. This is not time to come and ask mom to, make a bracelet or, help her find the remote to the TV. But then if I'm sitting at the kitchen table and doing some work, it's totally fine. She can interrupt me. I can go and grab some stuff for her. And Evelyn had shared that at a class we took a while ago, and that it's absolutely works. So.
Yeah. And then I will say, even like the way you dressed, you guys, if you're in your pajamas all day, let me just tell you, you're not going to respect yourself. So you're not going to make a good call, right? Like, look good, throw, makeup on if you feel like you're a girl, at least brush your hair, brush your teeth. You have to feel it right. And we kind of get into that on the next one, but I thought it was appropriate with that comment. So any more?
We just have a couple more. Kristen King says, bold law, if it is not on your calendar, it doesn't exist.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. That's a good one.
And one more, Scott Stout says, trusting the models is absolutely key, along with time blocking, build the lead gen, economic, finance, and organizational models into your pipeline tool. Keep your pipeline tool open daily and update it at all times. Track your metrics. What you measure improves. What you track gets done. We love you, Patrice.
Oh, thank you. So true. We're like, pipeline tool. I've heard of that before. Add that to our list. Always improving, people. All right. So we kind of got through that area. Now we know that's our lesson number 4 is follow the model. So oh, darn it. Hold on. I have to go back because I got to do a drum roll. Okay. So lesson number 5, drum roll. Don't be surprised. You're going to have to earn it. We're going to have to work hard, especially at first. We need to commit to our business. We need to live our standards and our habits. And what do I mean by that? Well, I believe everyone has standards. They're just not always happy to admit it, even to themselves, maybe especially to themselves. So what is the standard? Well, I don't care what the exact definition is, but I will tell you what my coach told me. It's not what you say you want, and it's not what you write in your manual. At the end of the day, your standard is what you'll tolerate. And in your business, to have the most success, you'll want to be clear on what your standards are. You want to draw that line, and you need to systematize. So let's discuss a few of my favorite standards. Number 1, standard of excellence. First of all, you have to be your best. We're professionals, and we should always deliver over the top service. We want to surprise our clients at all times. I worked at Disney World, And there they call every employee a cast member. And it's to remind us that we're always on show. Our role is to deliver an experience, and every detail counts. In my opinion, it's my job to exceed expectations, not reach them. I actually have a review from one of my clients that my customer service was the best they've ever received in any industry, hands down. And I'm super duper proud of this. But the funny thing is, I didn't even know I was doing anything special. I just knew it was my job to give them a great experience. In my opinion, we're compensated well, and our commissions are flexible. So for me, I have to give over the top service. I have to give extra. Why? Because I expect a full commission. And it's so much easier to ask to be compensated appropriately when we know the value of our service and the results we're delivering. Does that make sense? Next, how about the standards of habits? Especially when we're self-employed, where we spend our time matters. And in bold, they say the answer is always lead gen, even when you're not doing lead gen. And we must decide, we must commit and maintain a standard of business practices that you're willing to be accountable to. For our team, it's 50 contacts a week. Take a picture if you want. Yours can include any one of these. How many social media posts for business will you be doing? And by the way, it's not just business. You have to make sure that you're putting some personal, but it's with a business. You want people to see who you are and understand their lifestyle, because we're selling our brand. We are our brand. Well, how many number of contacts will you commit every week to doing, no matter what? My contacts, I touch them even when I'm on vacation, right? Sometimes it's 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm sending messages to some of you guys in the UK or all over the world, because that's what it takes to get my contacts done. How many evaluations and CMAs are you each doing every week? Crickets in the room, right? How do you know that you're going to be good when someone calls you and they need you? You don't want it to be your first time. How many hours are you spending learning your market knowledge, going into houses and understanding what the value of a home should be? How about your skill level with the contract? You guys, we're managing a lot of people's money here. It's a big deal, right? Your marketing skills, your negotiation skills. That's my favorite. How about writing compelling marketing copy and staging and presentation so that when you do get that deal, you can get people into your house, right? You want to make sure you know that, and it takes time. What about customer service? Is anyone specializing in that? There are actually classes on that. There are books. Time mapping out your business so that you can make your plan. How much time are we really spending? And last but not least, script practice, right? So that we know that we're saying the right things. And I'm pretty good about being natural. I can talk to anyone about nearly anything. And even I have to use a script, because that script is your guidepost to get you from here to the end. Otherwise, well, you might come in, we're going to leave with like an Italian food recipe, and I meant to get your business, right? So having that script is just to get us in that right direction. Did you have a question? Yeah. Okay. No problem. Write it down so we don't forget. Oh, I'm glad. So the question is how much time are you really putting into developing the skills of your craft? And why is this important? Well, I'm sure there'll be no surprise to learn that the rate of converting your leads to closings will improve as your skill levels increase. You'll be better able to sell yourself and have more confidence. And you guys, this is the fun stuff. This is the area that you build up your arsenal and you set yourself apart from the competition. It's the fun stuff for me anyway. And to simplify for my high Ds and my high Cs and my time blockers, these are the activities that you fill your calendar with until you have appointments. And even when you get super busy, this is what you still want to protect and time block for. Because this is where you decide with your actions, which things are your commitments and what you're just pure fantasy. And by the way, there's no judgment here, but you should know. And this is where we want to be intentional. And I joke, and I have a note that says, no matter how many Google alarms it'll take, if it takes 4 or 5 reminders because you're going to get distracted with your children or your life, or just, I don't know, like a ball of fur on the ground can distract me, then set 4 or 5 alarms. Right? Let's stop fighting who we are and just do whatever it takes to set ourselves up for success. And then we want to know who or what is our compass? Which tools and resources are we using? Have we set our goals yet? Are we using a 411? Do we have a PC coach or a peak performance partner, someone that you could call on when you're having a rough day? That'll kind of get you fired up again. And we want to get into a routine. We want to make sure that we're keeping our mind focused in the right direction. Don't we agree? So remember I said earlier that if it's not hard at first, then it's not real change. And hopefully we all agree that it's our job to master creating higher levels of success for ourselves. So what do I mean by that? Well, I mean that we must work consciously about making choices about the actions that we take each day. We want to commit to making decisions versus just having reactions. And once we're aware of this, it actually can be easier than you think. Did you know that scientists have found that using and manipulating your neural patterns can actually increase your chances of success? So cool. So maybe consider getting into a practice of meditation, yoga, or guided visualization. And there are dozens of options that are free on YouTube, from health, wealth, mindset, relationship. And yeah, I am talking about making time every day to daydream. Remember, we used to get in trouble for that? I'm changing the rules, people. Because visualization is a really great solution for building new neural pathways, and it will make all of this much easier. And I just find this to be fascinating. You can actually create new paths in your mind toward your desired behavior just by visualizing what the journey and the success would look like, what it would feel like, and what you'd be doing if your fantasy life really was your reality. And this can work for things like optimal health or even your ideal life. And just imagine what this can do for your real estate business. When you're walking into a meeting and you're already owning that feeling of what success would look like, right? So why not just leverage this so that we can design and create the structure of our businesses? And we also want to make sure that we envision ourselves as a success in both roles, as the boss of your business and as the employee. It is slightly different, in my opinion. So today I'm suggesting that we dream and we decide and commit to the minimum hours a week that we're willing to work. And then we take action. In the book, The 12-Week Year, Brian Moran says the difference between great and mediocre are usually just a few small things, like 2 to 3 extra appointments per week, 5 or 10 additional calls every day, adding 3 hours a week to work on your business in addition to the time we work in our business, delegating and leveraging just one more task. And by the way, this doesn't have to be to another human. There are so many systems and tools that we can use. It does take a little time, but in the course of things, it'll really help you. And then this is a big one. We need to learn to act on our commitments versus our feelings. And this takes practice, and that's okay. Let's commit to the journey and begin training ourselves. Can you see how this can be valuable? And then the last one, which is my favorite, is the standard of mindset. And that's come up for a lot of questions that you guys have mentioned, right? So we just said the answer is always lead generation. And yes, you are in a sales business. So much of this is just statistics. And yet the state of your mindset and your confidence level, especially in your value proposition, your skills, your standards, your service and your results, basically your resume, your confidence in this will influence your likelihood for success. Because if you expect a great call, you're more likely to get it. And if you expect a yucky one, well, you'll probably get that too. So we want to think of our business practice as our laboratory, not just a stage. And what do I mean by that? Well, I believe that your real-time calls should be shaping your business systems. You want to use this to be developing your communication style, tracking ideas for future improvement, questioning and redefining your dialogue. When you're on your calls, you should be listening to your language and the language of your clients that are saying, come up over and over again. And ideally, we're gaining confidence. We've always heard the term building confidence. That expression alone tells us that it must be developed. How? Well, with trial and error and with practice. So early I said, let's think of our business as a learning lab. What if we can perform with the goal of growing from each experience instead of like we're taking a test? Let's allow room for growth to be as much our objective as getting that appointment. And just trust that each call and every contact will get us one step closer to our future, even when it doesn't provide instant results. And my favorite mindset lesson that I preach and I try to practice every day, and I keep saying, is get out of judgment and stay out. And you guys, it starts with being conscious to stop judging others too. And I found that when I stop judging others, magically, it feels like there's no more judgments on me. And this is life-changing in every aspect and in every relationship. So how can we put this into action? Well, they say the first step is the hardest. So I say, let's just dive in. Did we do it right? Okay. So first, I'm going to ask for you all pick up your pens, and we're going to go back and circle all of the things or some of the things that you might be open to implementing that we learned in this class today. I know. And it, by the way, doesn't have to be from my class. It can be from anything else. And I'm going to ask all of you to open your calendars. And those of you at home, I can't see you, but I'm going to feel that energy. And I'm going to ask you to time block an hour for yourself anytime in the next 24-hour period. They say that when you take the first step within the first 24 hours of making that decision, you're more likely to have success. So I'm hoping that you will block that time. And if you can't do an hour, then do 4 15s or 2 30s or however. But I'm asking you to take that time for yourself, that you'll use this time to make the first small step from 1, 2, or 3 ideas from this class or a past class that might be interesting to you. And you guys, it could be as simple as just buying a journal or participating in some thinking and mapping time for your business. And ideally, this is something you'll schedule to be reoccurring. Maybe you want to schedule a class to grow a skill, or open a savings account for a dream purchase, buying new running shoes for an exercise routine, or scheduling a much needed fierce conversation with someone. You can order a book or ask a mentor for help. Or my favorite is booking time to have a board meeting with yourself. You guys, journaling isn't just about writing your feelings and what cute pink dress I wore yesterday, right? It's the only way that I can think of for documenting and recording your observation, to scientifically look at every obstacle and ourselves objectively, so that we can find and test the truest and most accurate solutions to the many problems that arise. A personal board meeting. So from now on, let's decide what we're willing to commit to. And then let's decide what we're willing to exchange for that. And last and finally, let's just do it with intentional, relentless consistency. And that's all I've got. Thank you for having me today. This is my day. And of course, now I'm happy to have more ahas and shares. You had a question. Oh, hold on. Let me grab the mic again.
I was wondering, my first question was with scripts. A lot of scripts that I've seen are more for listing side. What scripts do you use specifically for the buying side, for the buyer? Was my first question. My second question is something I have a challenge with, is when I have a good pipeline of deals going, time blocking doesn't seem to take place, and it's sort of difficult because then you stop with your lead gen. So what things do you do to help you if that happens?
So we have some scripts that we can share, and there are some great scripts in the office. I'd say it always starts with a question, and it goes, both of those are, it's the same answer. It's all about motivation. So with that buyer, it's, what do you look, why are you moving? Where are you going to? You really want to get them talking and getting into their dreams. So it's a lot of those questions that come up a lot. But I think Jenny can maybe share some of ours. Jenny, will you share? So if you reach out with her. But honestly, the office has many, and you guys, you want to have it sound like you. So don't get a script that is my script. You want to make sure that you're changing it slightly so it'll sound like something you say. The point is, you want to have the guidepost so that you're getting into that direction. When I go on my listing appointments, I like bringing an agenda, because if not, I'm nervous. I'm a nervous closer. I have a hard time closing. But if the piece of paper says, now we sign the contract, then I'm like, oh, I guess it's time to sign the contract. So that's what you want a script to be. But for the buyer, it's all about motivation questions. Why are they going? What are they looking for? What are they going to get out of this?
Do you use a buyer broker agreement, and do you ask for the business and through that agreement, or?
We are starting to get into doing that. I haven't implemented it at this point. And the reality is, I think it's a great idea because of the way that business is changing, and you want to put your value up front. We talked about that unique value proposition, right? If you're going to have Mr. Buyer, when you're committing to me, I can commit to you. There are so many things that I can do when I know that you're my client. I will be door knocking for you, and I'm going to find you off market properties, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I know that I have the authority to call every agent that I know to find a listing for you. Isn't that what you'd want in an agent, right? That's a closing. But those are the questions that you want to have. So I agree with that. Kristen teaches a great buyer broker class. So she's better at that than I will. But I do agree that it's super duper important to do.
I think I need to take that again.
And then for time blocking, remember the questions we asked. Again, it's about that motivation. It's about where is your goal? Because if we're only looking one step ahead of us, then you're only going to see that deal and you miss it. But with you have that compass and you know where you're going and you know you have a mountain to scale, that deal is not going to trip you up. That deal is just going to be a step. And you're going to think, how can I leverage this deal? Right? How can you use, when you guys, especially the new clients, when you have a buyer on the hook, you should be taking, in my opinion, take pictures of yourself, tag that person, and try and get that social media going for you a little bit. How can you leverage that? We talked about, even if it's not lead generation, it's always lead generation. So how can you put that into your dialogue? You're calling that bestie that you're hoping will give you a referral. Well, if you guys are just hanging out and having coffee all the time and complaining, I'm not saying you complain, but you know what I mean? Like if you're having like that, she's not going to see you as a realtor. But now that you're busy, what if you thought of it differently and said, you're leveraging that? Hey, I was just with my client today, and I was just negotiating this deal. You want to put all of that in there. And then again, leverage that to ask, I just brought out this buyer. We can't find a house. Who do you know? Is a really, really easy. It's a very Keller Williams, but that's just such the great question. I've been door knocking because I can't find anybody. You can ask every friend, who do you know that's selling? Because these buyers, I have to get them into a house. Doesn't that sound very natural? Yeah. Oh, by the way, isn't that a script? Just an easy something. So I would say, again, just keeping your vision bigger for both of those things and asking lots of great questions. I'm sure people have better answers than me on those. Do we have other questions? Okay, please.
Make sure I'm sitting down the right seat.
No problem. We got
All
plenty.
on my face. So no, but I think that the story throughout was awesome, and kudos to you for doing this. But one thing that I think is truly real, especially what you said, like where you're at in your business. I think what you said, like you called it the rainbow, or what pushes you to that next level, that reason why is so powerful. But I love what you said earlier. It's not just what you think you should write or what everybody else puts down, like that's garbage. Like what's really important to you? What makes you wake up in that fire, that intensity? Because if you do that, forget about it. But what's real is like the actions, like the actionable steps to really put it into place. And once you start like really doing that, and the phrase that you use is, it's a recipe, not a menu. I've never heard that, but I love that because everybody does what they like to do. People don't want to do what you don't like to do, right? But if you can embrace the stuff that you don't like to do, that's what's going to really propel you. So awesome. But what I'm going to commit to is journaling, because one thing I don't journal. I've never have. You're clapping for me. I feel like a 14-year-old girl, right? But the truth is, though, I like to write, but I just don't do it. And then when you write and you actually do it, it's so clear and it's beautiful and it's powerful. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to have that same mindset. By the way, Alex Brandau at Keller Williams Family Reunion in France used the recipe, not a menu. So I can't take credit. So I totally again, that's the R&D from Keller Williams. But it's being around everyone. And I was the same with journaling. In Bold, again, when Kristen made me take Bold, I was like, I don't have time to journal. Like I just wanted to get work done. And I did also, I was in judgment because yes, I'm a girl. However, I was supposed to be a boy. So my whole life, like I've been in judgment of girly things. And so journaling felt that way to me. And I imagined it with like a little key and some flowers on there. But again, we go back to, I wanted to be a scientist, and this is what scientists do. They observe and they write it down. So it's just kind of interesting. And so I think you'll really love it. And it's amazing what you're going to find out. So I'm excited. Thank you for sharing that. And for those of you that don't see, he's our tallest, manliest man over here. He's going to be doing his journaling.
Patrice, we have one aha
Okay.
from Global.
Okay.
Rudy says, aha, it's all about the big C, consistency. And then Peter Garland Collins says, I love Ford, FORD, as a basic script when
Oh,
catching
good.
up with someone.
Do you know the Ford script? Recreation and dreams. So I like to do a Ford sandwich too. So you kind of like, hey, how's the family doing? Great. How's your job? You're hoping that they're going to ask you about your job in the middle. And then the sandwich part is, again, I've been working with this seller, buyer, whoever. Who do you know that could match that? Because that's when you can ask for that business. And then you go into the recreation and the dreams. So it doesn't seem like, all right, thank God you finally got all that chit chat out. Hey, who do you know? Like, it's a little creepy if you smash it. So I love the Ford sandwich. Thank you, Peter. That's a great one. And that works for everyone.
So something I struggle with, I've been in sales for about 16 years, but real estate for 5 years. And I feel like I'm really good at the customer service. I'm good at taking care of my clients. That's a piece of cake to me. And documents, files, I love all that stuff. But the thing that's hard, because I can sell a program, I can sell an object like anything. But the thing that I struggle with is selling your home is a really personal decision. And you can't make somebody sell their home. So what do you do? Like, how can you, I mean, I hate to say it, but convince them to sell their home? I
You
mean,
can't.
right.
You don't. You
Is it-
support
it's a
them in their
timing
journey
thing.
whenever it is. And I just have hope, did we send out, we just are sending out a referral to two KW agents. And this was the guy I met at my very first open house 17 years ago. Like, I have done zero business with him, zero business. He moved and we're kind of like, we just stayed in contact for all those years. You just want to be with them. And then you just have to stick more clients in there. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's where he might be a really good resource for referrals or inviting to events or even classes. You know, that's a big deal, is you can bring people to classes that would help. That might get them motivated. But I think it all goes back to, and I'm sure there are smarter people that have better scripts, but it always goes back to motivation. Hey, remember you said you wanted to move to Nebraska? How's that looking, right? Their team's doing great this year. Like, pay attention. If you find out where they're moving, it can be easier. It can be easier to find out what's going on in that area, and you can kind of drop hints. But otherwise, that's not our place either, because there's a lot of things. It's easy because we're not selling toasters. This is really just a relationship business. And I shouldn't say but, sorry. And you can leverage him for a referral partner. You know what, Bob, I love you. You are so great. And someday you're going to sell that house, and it's going to be me that's going to take care of you. And in the meantime, who's always here for you, right? And now I need some referrals. Who do you know that would appreciate this level of service? Because I will fight for my client, and I'm also going to be patient, and I'm never going to push you to sell. But that doesn't mean we're not going to be in business with one another. So I need 2 referrals. So every year that you delay, I'm going to expect 2 more referrals. And you can ask them. I say this all the time. Yeah.
I was just going to say, you know, like Patrice said, the relationships, and she believes in that so much that she actually created a position for me, the relationships manager on her team. So that's all we do. I mean, like she just said with Casey, 17 years we've been in communication with him, like once a month check-ins, you know, and obviously not me 17 years, but it's amazing what, you know, just to be the relationships with people and a resource. Those are like the 2 best things, because people really appreciate, like you said, it's super emotional to sell a house, and being able to show them, well, here's, you know, a seller's home warranty. Here's like a really, just to build that trust. It, you know, they will.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
keep that, you know, keep just offering to help. And then
Yeah, we get ghosted all the time. And again, it's always surprising when people, but you have to, who cares, right? We have to look at this as statistics. And I always tell them when they go, oh my God, I don't have a referral. I'm like, no problem. It's not your job to have a referral for me, but it is my job to ask. I made a commitment. And I remember my first Bold 100, and I don't know if you were in that Bold group with me or if you were in the second one, but Tara's been in I've been your team captain before. I'm always like a nervous wreck, but you guys always build me up. But I remember on that first one, that was my script, is I made a commitment to take my business to the next level. I made a commitment to make real estate my true passion. And so I'm going to have to do things that are uncomfortable. So excuse me if I'm accosting you in the parking lot of the grocery store to ask you if you know anyone that wants to buy our home, but I hope you can appreciate and respect that I'm doing this for my family and my children. And I don't care if I fail and you tell me no, or even if you're mean to me, but my children are going to see me standing tall, and they're going to see me doing brave things. And I'm going to be a different person when I left. And after my first Bold 100, I forgot that I was afraid of flying. We flew to Palm Springs, and only when I was on that plane did I realize, oh crap, I forgot to take the pill. And I was fine. But it was amazing because I had broken. So I was so courageous because courage really, if you look at the scale of energy, and we didn't have time to put that on there and kind of want to do that in the class, there's actually an energy scale. And at the bottom, it's like apathy and shame and all of these right above doubt. We just talked about this the other day. And courage is the line that changes from the negative frequencies to the positive frequencies. So any of us, that's just the trick. And it doesn't have to mean scale a mountain today, but it could be as easy as asking a friend that you're uncomfortable with, literally calling that guy and saying, you know what, Bob, I love you. And I would kill it if you would actually sell your home. I mean, that's what I'm looking for. But I realized that that's not going to happen. And heck, I like you as my neighbor anyway. So I'm calling you today to ask for something new. And every quarter, I'm going to call you and ask you for a referral. And maybe you don't have one today and maybe not next quarter, but I'm just going to be very optimistic that if I show you my character and who I am, that someday you're going to have a piece of business for me. And more importantly, you're going to respect the hustle. And then the whole universe, it really does just change. Sorry, I get excited about this. Like, told you I was passionate. Any more ahas or comments or questions, anyone? I'm so glad you guys came. This has been really fun. And I didn't even fall down. Well, since the practice anyway. And I only danced a little. All right. Thanks, everybody that's online. Good night to those of you that are in Europe.
Oh, one more thing.
Oh, one more thing.
Just Kristen says, I have many past clients that are now real estate agents. Everyone has thought about a career in real estate. You have an amazing opportunity with Keller Williams to build your passive income through profit share.
Yes.
Your vendor partners can also be a resource.
And you guys, these kind of classes are great to invite. Lewis isn't even in real estate yet. Don't worry, Kristen, I got one coming. But actually the classes are a great thing to bring some of those clients to, because they may appreciate that. Yeah.
And I asked her so many times, you guys are about to sell because they were doing all this updating.
Yeah, but statistically, we're not going to get everyone either.
Yeah.
I know. And then those things, I think we just have to brush it off like quick.
She saw me hustle. I would like walk in the neighborhood, she saw me with the flyers.
Yeah.